Hello ladies and gentlemen, how are you today? Right, so what this is an update on my previous terrible quality video that I put on about my Harley Benton TE-52 LH guitar, which is here. This is it. Now, in my previous video, the quality was really poor, so I thought, as I've got a new camera, I would redo it with a few updates as well. I have now changed the tuners, and it has now got some vintage Cluson deluxe ones on there. The holes needed to be enlarged slightly to get these in, and also when I was doing it, these are the relic ones. And as I got to there on that screw, it wouldn't go in any further around it off, so at some point I'm going to get some pliers on that and take it out and replace it. So that's what's new about this guitar. I also put in a bone nut and leveled it all off, and I've got it playing and sounding fantastic. It's not plugged in at the moment, but it really is sounding great. I took out the stock Wilkinson pickups and replaced them with a pair of DiMarzio Twankings that I bought off eBay. They cost £50, but I sold the Wilkinson ones on eBay for £25, so they cost me about with all the eBay fees as well, about £27 and some grade. And even though the Wilkinson pickups are really nice, they really give a really good vintage sound, I couldn't resist upgrading them, and the DiMarzios sound awesome, especially this one. The nicest neck pickup I've ever used on a Telecaster. And normally, as you'll see with my main Telecaster that I use, I take out this is my American Standard, I normally take out this pickup and replace it with a P90, or as in this case a Seymour Duncan humbucker. This is my main guitar that I use for gigs and things like that, and it is just awesome. But the fretwear on it is pretty bad. I'm wearing it out, so I have to, I don't really practice on it that much. I don't do this one for practice because it's so nice. Now, this was from the Tommen website, where all Harley Bentons come from. Now, they have quite a good quality control, I believe, because they do B-stock versions of a lot of their guitars, and that makes me think that guitars reach them, they check them out, and they go, yeah, no, not good enough, B-stock it. This guitar's nice, they can go in the A-stock pile. So they do sort of look at their guitars, and if there's any blemishes or anything like that, they put them in the B-stock pile. Now what I've done to this guitar is, like I say, change the pickups. When I put the humbucker in that guitar, because of humbuckers, how humbuckers are, I swapped the pots out and put in CTS 500k pots in my Fender, and also put a 5-way switch in there. So this guitar has now got the original Fender USA standard pots and also the switch. So that's all worked out quite well, really. I also put in these brass compensated saddles. Now, these saddles are the barrel type, not the sort of ones with a screw thread on. So I had to put a groove in this fret just so I could get the E string sitting right. So I got the strings perfect. As you can see, they're pretty perfect. Then the other thing that I did was I took all the parts off it, and I rubbed this guitar down with some 00 wire wool. Now the reason why I did that was because this guitar it's really glossy. It's really glossy, and I really didn't like it. But with just a little bit of half an hour rubbing it down with some 00 wire wool, it's taken all that gloss off it and give it a really nice sort of mattish finish, sort of like a breezy sound or something like that. I really like it. I also rubbed down, as you can see, the back of the neck just to get a bit of smoothness, just because it was very highly gloss. I would recommend you do that as well. I also changed the strings. The strings were tarnished, and I polished the frets. You see slightly there on the 12th fret where I had to take the fret down a little bit. Like an idiot, I thought I needed to rub it down a little bit with some wet and dry, and I didn't bother masking the fret, so I took a bit of the finish off the fret there, which is a bit of a pain, but it's like an early state relic of the guitar. So there you go. I also shimmed the neck slightly with a piece of. I always use sandpaper to shim the neck, basically because it's made of diamonds. It can't be compacted. You cut it to size, and because each grade of sandpaper is slightly thicker than the next, you can get it exactly how you want it. So I always use normally a bit of wet and dry sandpaper to shim the neck. You put it to size. Sometimes I even sort of make a template and get it just right. And the reason why I did that was because before the saddles were fairly low, and the screws were sticking out of the top quite a lot, and I was catching my hand on it. I didn't like it, and I looked at it and I thought, also the pickups are really low, so they were a bit. When the pickups are low, they can be a bit rattly because of the rubber on the underneath the pickup isn't sort of engaged enough to stop the pickup from rattling around a bit. So I shimmed the neck, but that allowed me to raise the saddles and raise the pickups until they were at the height that I wanted them to be. This one was basically flat with the bridge, and it was rattling around a bit. Yeah, and that's all I've done to it really. Like I say, I had to take the one fret down just a tad, simply because there was no problem really, but it was just choking out on this string. The string was choking out on it when I was bending. That was all the problem was. When I first had the guitar, basically, I always check for fret level. I've got a fret level thing, so I checked the fret level, and I thought, oh, it's fine. I haven't got anything about it. But after playing it a while, I realised that there was a minuscule difference on the frets there that needed to be sorted out because they were choking out. So when I put the fret level on it again, there was just a slight difference, just here. I think probably it just wasn't tapped in enough, but I just sanded it down with a bit of wet and dry sandpaper, and that did the trick perfectly well. The new nut worked great. I'd recommend anybody who buys. I'd recommend anyone to buy this guitar. I really would. It's a fantastic guitar for the money. I mean, it costs about £108 from Tom, and their customer service is fantastic. But all you have to do is just mess around with it a little bit. I've spent, this guitar's cost me £200 all in all, altogether. Well, not even that really, it hasn't really cost me that really. I mean, the clues-ons were £35, the pickups are £25, so that's £60, so that's sort of 60, let's say £68, £10, so that's sort of, £78. And if I had bought these, then, that would have been around about, so if I had bought these, then it would have cost me around about £200 to do. And I had a couple of hours of my time, that's new strings, of course, as well, some Darios. The nut was £5 as well. Yeah, so about £200 it's cost altogether. If I'd have paid for these, which I didn't. And it's a really, for the money, it's a really, 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 really nice guitar. And there's no getting away from it. It is a lovely guitar. It sounds fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong. It sounded and played great straight out of the box. But when you're a left-handed person, you learn to tinker with guitars quite a lot because you can't, if I go into GAC right now, I can just walk around for hours and look at right-handed guitars. They are literally thousands of guitars in that shop. And then you look at the left-handed section, there's 9 guitars. There's not many left-handed guitars available, to choose from. So if you're in the market for a Fender Telecaster, you go to, and you're left-handed, you go to GAC, you've probably got 1 or 2 to choose from a classic vibe, and depends what price you're looking at. Obviously they've got things like custom shop 52 Tellies and things like that, like £3,000 to £400 classic vibes. But this, well, I'd stack this guitar up against a classic vibe any day. I'd stack it up against a Mexican Telecaster any day. In fact, if I could, I could give somebody a blindfold test with this guitar, and they would not know it was a cheap guitar. I can guarantee they would not know it was a cheap guitar. It's heavy, the body is solid alder, 3-part body. Plays like butter. Sounds, you know, just like a telly should. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tone. So here it is, the Harley Benton TE-52. I thoroughly, thoroughly recommend this guitar from Tommen. For the money, it's by far the nicest, cheapest guitar I've ever owned. And I don't really own cheap guitars. You know, I don't really buy cheap guitars, not on the whole. But I like this guitar, and I play it all the time. I haven't gigged with it yet, but I'm planning to. I really am. Oh, and of course, I took the Harley Benton name off it, so I put like my trademark explosion on the top. I was thinking of relicking this guitar, and I was thinking of rounding off all the edges on the headstock. You know, making it look really nice, respraying it.